Hello everybody, I hope you're doing fine. Welcome back to Bujumbura English Center. Today's lesson is about verb patterns. We are going to talk about the way verbs follow each other. When a verb comes after another one, it can be either a to infinitive or it can be a gerund. When a verb comes after another one, it can be a to infinitive or it can be a gerund. By gerund, I mean a verb plus ing. Verb plus ing makes a gerund. So, in this lesson, we are going to see which verbs take a to infinitive after them and which verbs take a gerund after them. Do we say he likes playing games or he likes to play games? Well, find out later in this video. I'm Joachim from Bujumbura English Center. Are you ready? Let's get started. First of all, today's expression. Today's expression is to turn a blind eye. To turn a blind eye means to refuse to take action when there is a wrongdoing or something improper happening. To turn a blind eye means in French, fermer les yeux. Ni kwigira sindabibazo canke kureka kugira ico ukoze mu gihe ubona hari ikintu kibi kiko kiraba. You say, for example, don't turn a blind eye to this problem. Atireka kwigira sindabibazwa kuri iki kibazo. You could also say, the keys messed up with my kid, but you turn the blind eye. Ati, abana banyononeye ibikoresho ariko waciye wigira sindabibazo. Do you think you can provide an example of your own using the expression to turn a blind eye? If you think this video is helping you, you can give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new on this channel. Ukabona iyi video iri kuragufasha, ufyonde kuri like, ukaburi mushasha naho ufyonde kuri subscribe canke s'abone. This time the main point. Verb patterns. Verb patterns. Uko amavuga akurikirana n'ayandi. Verb patterns. We said when a verb comes after another one, it can be either a to infinitive or it can be a gerund. Iyo irivuga rikurikiye irindi, iryo rivuga ririkurikiye rishobora kuba ari infinitive, irivuga riri muri kwigenza, canke naho rikaba ari gerund, irivuga twongeyeko agace ing. Now, let's talk about verbs that are followed by a to infinitive. Examples of those verbs. Like here we have the verb to afford. The verb to afford means to have enough money to buy something or to have enough time to do something. Now, we provided an example here. He said, I can't afford to buy that car, which means I don't have enough money to buy that car. Nta buryo bukwiye mfise bwo kugura ijya modoka. Another example, the verb to agree. Être d'accord, kwemeranya n'umuntu. He agreed to go out with me. He agreed to go out with me. You can see that here we have the verb to buy, which is a to infinitive, to buy. So the verb to afford is followed by a to infinitive. Rero irivuga to afford rikurikirwa na to infinitive. Ngaho urabona ko yakurikiwe na to buy. The verb to agree is followed by a to infinitive. Here we have the verb to go. Urabona ko ngaha yakurikiwe n'irivuga to go. To go, which is a to infinitive. Now, here are more examples of verbs that are followed by a to infinitive. Ayandi mavuga akurikirwa na to infinitive. Now, for example, the verb to aim. The verb to aim, which means to have an objective. You say, for example, he aims to speak English fluently. Afise intumbero yo kuvuga icyongereza atariringanya. Son objectif est de parler l'anglais couramment. I hope you can provide an example of your own using the verb to own, followed by a to infinitive. And I've got the verb to attempt. The verb to attempt here, which means to try, you could say, for example, they attempted to kill him. Ils ont tenté de le tuer. Baragerageje kumwica. They attempted. To attempt means to try. Something which is challenging or difficult. So they attempted to kill him. I've got a verb to be dying. Be dying means when you want something very much. You say, for example, I'm dying to travel. I'm dying to travel. Ndashaka gutembera. Numva ndabishaka cyane. Mfise icyifuzo gikomeye cyo gutembera. I'm dying to travel. I hope you can provide an example of your own using the verb be dying. And I have can't wait. Can't wait is an expression that we use when we are looking forward to something. Igihe dushashaye ikintu twiteze ko ikintu cyoba n'ingoga. Turagishuhiye, turashaka ngo kibe n'ingoga. Yes, you say for example, I can't wait to meet you. Sije nzobona harageze ngo duhure. Sije nzobona harageze ngo tubonane. I can't wait to see that. Ati sije nzobona harageze ngo mbone ivyo bintu. Yeah, another verb is claim. To claim, which means to say something and you don't have proof for that. For example, he claimed to win the election. He claimed to win the election. Yavuze ko yatsinze amatora. But there is no proof. So when you say something and there is no proof, when somebody says something and there is no proof, so we say it's to claim. So he claimed to win. You see the verb to win, which is the to infinitive coming after the verb to claim. And I've got the verb to decide. To decide. To decide, which means to take a decision, to make up one's mind. Gufata ingingo. You say, for example, he decided to leave the place. Ati yaciye afata ingingo yo kuva muri ico kibanza. He decided to leave the place. And here is another one, to fail. To fail, which means eshue, kunanigwa. You say, for example, he failed to help his family. Ati yarananiwe no gufasha umuryango we. He failed to help his family. Do you think you can provide an example of your own using the verb to fail? Next is the verb to hasten. To hasten means kwihutagiza. To hasten. He hastened to punish the kid. Yaciye yihutira guhana umwana atamanje kuvyumvira ko canke gutohoza neza. He hastened to punish the kid. Next is the verb hesitate. To hesitate. To hesitate, which means to doubt. So you would say, for example, if you have any problem, don't hesitate to call me. Don't hesitate to call me. To call, which comes after hesitate, is a to infinitive. Just to remind you. And I've got here the verb to pretend. To pretend, which means in French, faire semblant, kwigirisha. Like for example, he pretended to be ill. Yeah, I remember at primary school and high school when it was time for exercise. I mean for physical exercise. Some girls used to pretend to be ill so that they let them stay in the classroom and not go out for exercise. Yeah, I hope you understand what it means to pretend, and it's followed by a to infinitive. Here is another one, to prove. To prove means to bring proof. To bring proof. Gutanga ivyemeza. To bring evidence. You say, for example, he proved to be strong. He proved to be strong. Yarerekanye ko afise inkomezi canke yarerekanye ko akomeye. Now, another one is the verb to threaten, which means in French, menacer. To threaten means menacer. Like for example, they threatened to jail him. They threatened to imprison him. Ati bashobora ubwoba ko bamufunga. Yes, I hope you can provide an example of your own using the verb to threaten. Used to. Here we use this expression to talk about a past habit. Like for example, he used to teach here. Yahora yigisha ngaha. So we use this expression, used to do something, to talk about something that was a habit in the past, but is no longer a habit today. So you say, for example, we used to study together. It was about the past, but now it's no longer the case. I hope you understand what it means be used to, and you can provide examples of your own. Now, There are more verbs that can be followed by a to infinitive. You will find an exhaustive list at the end of this video. Here are examples of verbs that can be followed by a gerund. Yes, this time verbs that can be followed by a gerund. A gerund. To remind you, we said that a gerund is a verb plus ing. So we have an example of the verb to admit. The verb to admit, which means to confess, kwemanga. Like for example, he admitted stealing money. He admitted stealing money. Ati yemanze ko yivye amahera. He admitted stealing money. As you see that stealing is the gerund, a verb plus ing. And the verb to enjoy. They enjoy watching movies. They enjoy watching movies. Birabaryohera kuraba movies. So you can see that watching is a gerund. We took the verb to watch and we added ing. So we can't say they enjoy to watch movies. No. The verb to enjoy is always followed by a gerund, and the verb to admit is always followed by a gerund. Now, here are more examples of verbs that can be followed by a gerund. I've got the verb to allow. The verb to allow, which means to permit, to give permission to somebody to do something. Like for example, we don't allow smoking here. We don't allow smoking here. And you can see that the verb smoking is a gerund. And avoid. Avoid means in French, éviter. You say, for example, he avoids drinking during weekdays. Ati aragerageza kwirinda kunywa mu minsi y'akazi hagati mu ndwi during weekdays. And can't help. Can't help means can't stop. Can't help is an expression that we use to say that you've tried to stop something but you failed. Can't help tukoresha kugira ngo tuvuge ko wagerageje gukora ikintu ariko vyanse. Like for example, I can't help laughing. Ati vyanse ko ndeka gutwenga. Vyanse ko nihangana ngo ndeke gutwenga. You could say he couldn't help crying. He couldn't help crying. Vyaranse ko hagarika kurira. Now, next is deny. The verb to deny means to say you didn't do something when you are being accused of doing something. For example, he denied stealing money. He denied stealing money is the opposite of saying he admitted stealing money. So deny is the opposite of admit. Next is the verb to involve. To involve means to imply or to require. Like for example, teaching involves speaking a lot. Tikwigisha bisaba kuvuga cyane. Urabona ko aha dufise speaking, which is a gerund, which comes after the verb to involve. And mind. Mind is an expression or a verb that we use to talk about polite requests when you are asking for something politely. If say, for example, would you mind driving me to the station? Iyo turiko turasaba ikintu mu rufasoni, turakoresha mind igakurikirwa na gerund. Would you mind driving me to the station? Ati hari kibazo untwaye kuri station, umpaye lift ukanshikana kuri station. I hope you can provide an example of your own using the verb to mind. Keep. The verb to keep means to continue in this sense. It can be keep or keep on. Like for example, keep on teaching us. Atibanda Ntikigucike. And I can tell you, keep learning English with Bujumbura English Center. Atibanda Nyawiga Icyongereza na Bujumbura English Center. Do you think you can provide examples of your own using keep? Don't forget, you can also use keep on learning, keep on teaching, keep on going, keep on doing, something like that. And then next is the verb to quit. To quit means to stop. He quit smoking. Yarahagaritse kunywa itabi. He quit drinking. Yarahagaritse kunywa inzoga. I hope you understand how to use the verb to quit and you can provide examples of your own. Next is the verb to stand. To stand in this sense, when it is followed by a gerund, means to tolerate. Kwihanganira ikintu. I can't stand sitting here without any thing to do. Ati sinshobora kwihanganira kugumanisha ngaha atakintu ndiko ndahakora. Stand in this case means to tolerate, and I think you can provide examples of your own using the verb to stand. Now, recommend. To recommend is to suggest something that you think is good to somebody. Ni kubwira umuntu ngo akore ikintu kubera wabonye ko ari cyiza kuri we. And you can say, for example, if you want to speak English fluently, I recommend reading and listening as much as you can. Ati ku bantu bifuza kumenya icyongereza nubaha icyumviro cyo kumviriza icyongereza no gusoma cyane uko bashoboye. In that case, you will improve your English skills faster than ever. And the verb to consider. You can use here the verb to consider as a solution that you provide to a problem. For example, if you are having trouble with the internet connection, consider turning off your phone and turning it on. Ati nimba uri kuragira ibibazo vya internet, raba uzinya telefone ushongera uyatse urabe ko bikora. Yes. I hope you can provide examples of your own using the verb to consider. And to tolerate, which is the same thing with stand. I said earlier, I can't stand sitting here without anything to do. You can also say, I can't tolerate sitting here without anything to do. Yeah, I can't tolerate speaking that loud. Ati, sinshobora kwihanganira kuvuga uko kose. N'ijwi riri hejuru uko kose. Yeah, and something else. To resume. The verb to resume means to do something that you had suspended. Gusubira gukora ikintu wari wahagaritse. That is to resume, reprendre in French. For example, during COVID-19, the football players suspended playing, but they resumed after 3 months. Mu kiringo cha corona, barahagaritse gukina umupira, ariko inyuma y'amezi 3 baciye basubira gukina. They resumed playing. I hope you can provide examples of your own using the verb to resume. And then to resist. To resist means to refuse to do something. For example, he resisted drinking alcohol. He resisted drinking alcohol. And last of all, the verb to practice. Let's practice speaking English. Let's practice speaking English. Reka twimenyereze kuvuga icyongereza. And this time I want to let you know that some verbs can take either form. Some verbs can take a true infinitive or they can take a gerund. But the meaning is different. Amavuga amwe arafata true infinitive akongera agafata na gerund. Ariko insiguro ziba zitandukanye. I give you an example of the verb to remember. When you use a true infinitive, you are talking about doing something or not doing it. Like for example, you tell someone, remember to close the door. Wibuke kugara umuryango. Remember to close the door. Wibuke kubikora. Did you remember to close the door? Wibutse kugara umuryango. That's in the case is followed by a true infinitive. But when it's followed by a gerund, we are talking about a memory of the past. Iyo dukurikije gerund, tubatiko turavuga ivyo twibuka ko twakoze muri kahise. Like for example, I remember closing the door. I remember closing the door. Nibuka ko nugaye umuryango. Do you remember closing the door? Do you remember closing the door? Uribuka ko ugaye umuryango? Uravyibuka ko wabikoze? So here, when the verb remember is followed by a gerund, it's actually expressing a past memory. And I can give you another example of the verb to stop. You can say, for example, he stopped to buy milk. He stopped to buy milk means he stopped with the purpose of buying milk. Here we are using to buy as an infinitive of purpose. Tuko turavuga ngo yarahagaze kugira agure amata. Intumbero yo guhagarara kwari kugira ngo agure amata. But when you say he stopped buying milk, it means it was a habit, but now he stopped. yarahagaritse kugura amata. Yaramenyereye abikora mugabo ubu yabihagaritse. He stopped buying milk. I hope you understand these differences. And at the end of this video, I will provide you with a comprehensive list of these verbs that can take either form with a difference in meaning. Also, an exhaustive list of verbs that can be followed by a gerund. Mu mpera y'iyi video urabona amavuga yose akurikirwa na to infinitive, amavuga yose akurikirwa na gerund, hamwe n'amavuga yose afata either form but with a difference in meaning. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you very much for your attention. Until next time, bye-bye.